So say you found a skeleton. How would you tell it's a dinosaur? You personally, how would you decide?
Well, interesting question. I don't know. I'd have to do some research on that.
All right, welcome everybody to Kent with Bent 38, the Kent's speech. I thought actually we might have actually accidentally started late a little bit because I lost track of time, but we got there just barely on time. So we succeeded. Don't worry about it. We're good. Yes. So today's been a pretty productive day for me. I got the last creature that we need for the next video on the Speculative Evolution project done today. It's on the World Anvil if you want to go check that out. It's a Diocete, which is it is a filter feeder from the Arctic regions. So it puts some nice little iceberg in the background behind the creatures in the picture, and you know, I also got to use the word Utheka today, which is a word that I rarely ever get to use. So that's also on the World Anvil for that. I also, as it's been linked in the chat a few times, I finished up the opening credit scene for the Star Trek Adventures game. We're going to try and make this feel as much like actually watching an episode of Star Trek as possible. So Bent plays the captain, and we're going to open up episodes with a captain's log with a nice exterior shot of the ship. And we'll cut to that opening sequence, then we'll cut back to everyone else. Or if we're continuing the same episode, we'll start with a little, whoever's the acting captain, or, you know, whatever's appropriate for what happened last time, so we can give a little summary of last time on Star Trek, whatever, now the conclusion, or now the continuation, or whatever. We should probably always just say continuation, because I don't know if it, you can never really predict when it's going to be the conclusion. But, yeah, so that's that cool stuff there. We are here, though, for another exciting thing. We're starting a new video series by Ken Hovind, because we have finished the last one. So this is CSE 101. This is Creation Science Evangelism. It's got, I think it's got 10 parts, and then there is a CSE 20 or 102 and 103 and 104. Now, we probably won't watch every single part in that series because, quite frankly, I'm not entertaining Ken Hovind's Godwin's Law arguments. It's just not happening. So, for all those times that Ken Hovind is like, oh, evolution is the cause of the National Socialist Party's atrocities. Nope. We're just not even going to deal with it. For one thing, even if it's true, okay, that doesn't make it wrong. And two, it's not true. And I don't really care to prove that. If you really need to look all that stuff up, you can. Yeah, so there you go. But let's see. Let us go over... Or wait, do you have any awesome news to share or anything? I don't know. I just had a good day.
Just excited about the music that's coming for Copper Magna.
Awesome. Oh yeah, you've been recording a lot of new music, right?
There's more.
Awesome.
And my favorite song that we have is the one I was the most worried about a guitar solo. And I did it Sunday, and I did it in one take, and it's great.
Awesome.
So I'm really thrilled with it.
Awesome. Yeah, so stay tuned at coppermagma.com. Also, the songs that are currently published are also available on Spotify, I believe, right?
Yeah, most of them.
Okay, so yes. You can also add them to your Spotify playlist if you like Copper Magma. And by the way, Bent Hovind. Let's call you Kent Hovind. That's Uncle Kent. Bent Hovind is the one who did the music for my opening scene, which I have to get around to redoing, by the way. It's a little dated now. I need to revamp it just a bit. It'll be very similar, but that's okay. He's also did the music that you'll hear if you watch that opening credit scene that's on Top Hats Off for Star Trek House of Torg, which is what we're calling it. Mostly because I couldn't come up with another name that wasn't already taken or that didn't sound too silly. So that's it. Let's see. I think that's it. So let's go over the rules here, because we got rules that we follow. We don't encourage you to follow because we don't accept any liability for any liver damage, operation of heavy machinery,
alcohol poisoning,
fatal face palming. We don't, no responsibility for any of that, because we recommend that you not follow along. However, we do have drinking rules, so we drink whenever Ken Hovind gets something right where he's not just quoting someone. We drink when it's too stupid. We drink when we get a visit. Oh, hold on. I don't think that I successfully activated our more random drink pause. So give me a second while I do that. We should be good now if we want to test it. There you go. So we'll drink when the kaiju visit. So we'll take our first drink of the night. There you go. And we also drink whenever Kent tells a joke that we is just terrible, which is almost every one of his jokes.
Laugh.
Yeah.
No one can. If anyone laughs, we can't drink.
Exactly.
There's only 2 of us. Or his audience.
Yeah. All right. So there you go. I hope everyone has some fun. Let's see. Let me figure out what I'm doing here. All right. Here we go. Let's hit play. This, by the way, starts out with a horrible noise. I'm sorry. It's terrible. Because this was probably done on... I mean, I'm absolutely positive. This
Well,
was done
thank you
on
so
VHS.
much for coming out tonight. This will be the first class of our Creation Science 101. My name is Ken Hovind. I was a high school science teacher for 15 years. Now, for the last 10 years, I've been an evangelist, and I travel full-time and speak on the subject of...
Yeah, he was kind of a high school teacher. Like, okay, so for a very long time, no one would ever... He never said what school he taught at. And so he would admit to having taught little classes like this in churches. But that's not being a high school teacher. That's being a traveling Sunday school teacher, right? Like, there's nothing necessarily wrong with being a traveling Sunday school teacher, although there is if you lie to kids, like Ken Hovind did repeatedly all the time, knowingly, almost certainly. But it's not being a high school teacher. But in his interchange with Aaron Ra via video responses, he eventually did disclose that he did in fact teach at a private Christian school with like a attendance of like less than 100 kids, or fewer than 100 kids. Sorry, gotta get the grammar right there. Kids are countable, so you gotta use fewer. Anyway, and yeah, basically it was like opened by a pastor he knew, and then he taught like math and science there for a few years, and I guess maybe 15, I don't know. And like that was his teaching credentials. Yeah, so technically he taught high school aged kids in a school that they were going to for their high school diploma. I hesitate to call it a good school because it had Ken Hovind there, but then again, actually, I do know of some young Earth creationist schools in my hometown that they actually got really their students got really high marks on standardized tests for most subjects. So I don't know. Take that for what you will.
So I teach doctors things at a hospital.
That's
when
probably
they don't know things, and I do.
So you
It
teach
happens quite a bit, actually.
you teach doctor school at a hospital.
So Ken thinks he can teach high schoolers. Okay, fine, I can teach doctors.
Well, take that, doctors and Kent, or I was going to say
And you know
including
what?
Kent, but he's not a doctor.
Well, he claims to be a doctor, so there's a lot I could teach him too.
Yeah. Well, his doctor's... Actually, I think he's going to talk about his doctor's degree in this. So let's go. Because this is an intro class, I doubt we're going to get actually anything terribly interesting. Sorry, guys.
Everything Ken says is interesting. That's why this show exists.
Okay.
of creation, evolution, and dinosaurs. Let me tell you how this class got started. About several years ago, I had my son Eric showed an interest in creation science and went off to college to study creation science because he wanted to help, spread this information on creation and evolution. And when he graduated, he came back to work on my staff. And then Mike came to work for me about a little over a year ago, I guess. Came to work on my staff. And they've been going out speaking, doing seminars on creation and evolution, sharing my material, basically. I've been gathering material and speaking on this topic for a long time. And several months ago, I met with them and I said, hey, fellas, we ought to meet once a week and, discuss information and bring people, keep up to speed on new developments and things like that, and go through my seminar real.
Okay, hold up a second. Ken Hovind just said that he wants to keep up to speed with new information. I'm going to take a drink for that.
Why? Because he lied?
Yeah, because all of his arguments are like at least 30 to 40 years out of date. Like, at a minimum. Some of his arguments are like 150 years out of date. I'm not kidding. The idea that Ken Hovind wants to keep up to date with all the latest happenings is absolutely absurd.
What is the newest source we've seen him cite?
Sometimes he cites creationists from like the early 2000s, but I don't think I've seen him cite a scientist from more recently than like the 90s. But I can't confirm that that's definitely true.
I was taught 5 years. Don't look for any article or peer-reviewed or not. It doesn't matter if it's older than 5 years. It depends on the subject.
Yeah. That's
for the stuff we do, the science.
Yeah, for medical stuff, that's pretty reasonable. For paleontology, actually, sometimes you do actually end up needing to cite articles from like the 1860s, just because like that's when the fossil you're talking about was first described.
Yeah.
So
there's exceptions.
Yeah. So paleontology is one of the odder things in science, where like sometimes you just do have to refer to like this 1890 description of Ichthyosaurus, and it's like, well, this is the specimen I'm looking at. Here's what other authors have had to say. No one's written on this specimen in the past 100 years, so what do you want me to do? It's still a specimen that exists. But yeah, generally speaking, though, even in paleontology, you want to try to get the most recent work on the specimens that you're talking about as possible. And ideally, specimens will be examined regularly, and but it doesn't happen, though. Things stay in like locked drawers in museums for 70 years. That actually happened with, if I remember correctly, Quetzalcoatlus, which is one of the biggest ever pterosaurs, was basically just left in a drawer like marked assorted pterosaur bones. And then one day someone was like looking for something to write a paper on, open up this drawer, and suddenly now we have a description of one of the largest animals to ever fly. Yeah, so paleontology is weird like that. Sometimes you don't have to go dig anywhere. You can just go wander into a museum and be like, hey, you got anything no one's bothered to write about? And those like, yeah, sure, here you go. So, here we go. Let's get some work at.
Slowly, and give you an opportunity to ask any questions you want. Chase every rabbit that jumps up as we walk down the trail. And so I told some of the folks on my staff in my ministry at CSE, Creation Science Evangelism, what we're going to do. And several of them said, well, I'd like to come to that. And so I called Preacher, and I said, Preacher, I got several folks on my staff who would like to do this. Do you want to see if any church people want to do this? So he announced it in the church, and well, here we are tonight. So this is the first. Here's the goals, okay? The purpose of the class, as far as I was concerned originally, was to help equip Eric and Mike to do a better job and learn all the material. They say what I say in my seminar, but I'm not sure they always know why they say it and the science behind it. Plus, we got.
Did he just throw his son under the bus? Take a drink. We got some author visiting. But did Kent just? Yeah, like it's like he just repeats me like a trained parrot. Is basically what Kent just said about Eric. Eric has no idea what's actually going on, but he's like, I've heard these words before. Which, to be fair, if you watch Ken Hovind and Eric Hovind give the same speech, like side by side, it is uncanny the degree to which they use like the same intonation, the same breaks in the words. Like, it's creepy.
Yeah, well, I mean, I just imagine he grew up and Kent was just saying all of this at the dinner table. Always.
Kent always practiced at the dinner table?
Always.
So
he wasn't practicing, he was just ranting, and eventually his wife's like, honey, go put this on a video. The whole thing. And then the next thing you know...
Now we know the real reason Joe left him. This is because she was tired of listening to him say the same thing over and over again. Oh, man. I would say normally I don't want to make fun of someone's, personal relationship troubles, but it's Kent Hovind. He's a scumbag, so who cares?
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
Folks in my office that answer the phone and take questions all day long, and it'd be good for them to have more information. How many of you in the room tonight work for me? Okay, let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Plus me, 9.
That's weird.
We have about 20 altogether in our staff now, and it's an honor to have the rest of you come here. How many go to this church, to Marcus Point Baptist Church? Nearly all the rest of you. Okay, how many do not fit into either of those categories? Okay, we got 5 or 6 there, too. Well, great. Well, we're glad you're here. What we're doing for this course, we're going to videotape...
Sorry, what was that, Ben?
Oh, I raised my hand for the last option.
Oh.
This, because I get people all over the country that say, are there any courses on creation I can take? And this hopefully will be something they can take via video. The class here is going to meet the next 10 Thursday nights in a row, with one exception. I'm already booked to do a debate on one of the Thursday nights, and so it's about 5 weeks from now. I don't remember the exact date. Do you have that, Heidi? March 9th. It'll be a Tuesday instead, that week.
Okay, skip the
Tuesday night.
orientation.
Otherwise, who baptized Jesus?
John the Baptist.
John the Baptist. There we go. He remembers that.
What's that? Sorry.
I said I thought that was interesting.
Oh, their schedule?
Yeah.
We're not going to be following that schedule, though. We're doing this on Tuesdays, and it's going to probably take us more than 10 days.
Well, I know that.
Okay.
It's going to take a long, long time.
Yeah. Yeah, but, the orientation needs to go. Sorry, Kent, but it was relevant to your audience, and I get why you did it. But, no. Okay, by the way, he's now throwing things at people for answering Bible trivia, so okay.
That from, what, long time ago, don't you? Mike, where were you on that one? Don't you know? Was it John the Methodist? No, it was John the Baptist. There we go. All right.
That was a joke. Brink.
Yeah, no one laughed.
Kent laughed.
Except Kent.
Yeah.
I think that, Kent has to laugh with no one else laughing. I guess he doesn't have to.
No.
But he has to make a joke.
Oh, Adam Morgan says, fix my Patreon. Here's for the last couple months. Well, thank you very much, Adam Morgan. No worries there. I understand it happens. You are far from the only person to have had some kind of payment blip that just automatically unenrolls you from Patreon. It's an unfortunate aspect of what happens. People change credit cards, whatever. But thank you very much. That is very much appreciated. And that was for $2 US. So we will get back to Kent now. Oh, and Robert Adson says he couldn't edit this out. No, I'm pretty sure this whole VHS just got distributed entirely. Didn't even bother to fix the buzzing sound in the background. Didn't bother edit out irrelevant information for people who were not there for the live class. This is Kent's level of production. The fact that he now has an intro video for Whack and Atheist was a gigantic shock to me. Because I still, every once in a while, go ahead and watch those, just because every once in a while he might say something interesting. But the reason I haven't covered any of them since his Richard Dawkins one is because they've all been super boring. Ken Hovind's new stuff is just the same as his old stuff, so I might as well just watch the old stuff back when he was more energetic. And, quite frankly, sounded less like a violent jerk, beating people over the head with a hammer in his own imagination. So, yeah, we're watching the old stuff. Exactly.
We've done hours and hours and hours and hours. We played that game, giving out raisins and apples and fruit, and we tried to make our devotion time exciting where the kids couldn't wait.
Yum.
Okay. The purpose of this class, then, is to equip people to know what they believe and why, and be able to answer the skeptics and scoffers who have belief in evolution.
Hold on. I'm going to take a quick drink here, because the purpose of this class should not be to teach people what they believe. It should be explaining what you believe, Kent, and being persuasive. So, I love that right now we're just assuming. Everyone just believes me, and because they've decided that, oh yes, I'm a Christian of this particular brand, that means they're going to believe everything you believe, Kent. Or that they should. Just automatically. Basically because you say it. Never, ever, under any circumstances, for any reason, no matter what, ever tell someone what they believe.
Whoa, that's how that ends?
That's not normally how that ends. But I do appreciate that you got the reference. If you can tell me in the chat what that was a reference to, you get +3 internets.
Whoa, that's a pretty good deal.
Yeah, there you go. Tag me on it though, because if you do get it, I want to know, because that's a pretty obscure one.
The Bible says all Scripture is given by inspiration of God. The word inspire means to breathe in. Heidi, write that down. That'll be a quiz question. Heidi's going to be the secretary. Keep track of the grades. Several colleges have indicated they just because they know me, I guess, they're willing to take this credit that we're going to offer if somebody wants to later apply it toward a college degree at some other college. They'll say, yeah, we'll accept the credit.
All right, well, a couple things. That is like the most disappointing thing I've ever heard in my life. And I already knew it was true, but like, ugh. I'm going to take a drink for that. Also, Burnbird says that was a Michael Scott, I can't talk reference, and he is absolutely right. Thank you. And he is absolutely right. And it is, in fact, an Office thing. That is from when Michael was visiting New York because his branch was the best performing branch. And his boss asked him what his secret was, and he just rambled on about what not to do, except he didn't actually ever say anything. So, there you go. What you guys don't know is that off-air, Bent and I speak in about 40% Office quotes. So, there you go. And the rest of it is like smatterings of quotes from other things like Back to the Future or Star Trek. So,
it's true. It's completely true.
Yeah. We very rarely say anything that hasn't already been said on something we both watch. So, here we go.
Marcus Point, I think he's going to call it Marcus Point Baptist Church Bible Institute. Have a name about that long. We'll see if we can get...
Oh my goodness, it's for a school that doesn't even exist yet, so it's not even unaccredited yet. I'm taking a drink. My goodness. Some school that may exist one day will take your credit for this. Oh, thanks, Kent. You're so generous.
Get that shortened up a little bit. Several colleges have already said they will, and I'm sure as I contact others, they will say no problem. So, the word inspire means to breathe in. That'll be a quiz question. Heidi's going to keep a list of just questions that, and at any time during the course, we will simply use those questions for quizzes, and then at the end, all of the test questions we get will come from previous quiz questions. I don't like surprise tests. I don't like people to sneak up on me and, study these 30 things and then they test you on 30 different things. You won't get that out of me at all, okay?
Actually, I'm going to go ahead and, this isn't technically getting something right, but I'm going to drink because I'm with Kent on this one. I hate that crap. Look, if you're a teacher or a professor or whatever, your question should be based on what was actually gone over in class. You can do a few things on the required reading that you didn't super touch on in class, but it should not be most of it. And every once in a while, I would get that stuff in college, and I'm just like, why are we being tested on this? This isn't anything that was ever brought up as being important or significant. And it's like, well, it's to see if, you read the readings. It's like, no, that was what the class discussion was for, because otherwise I couldn't have spoken intelligently on that, except when I bluffed my way through having read Things Fall Apart, because I forgot to read Things Fall Apart. So that was the one exception there. But, yeah. Do not do that. I'm with Kent on this one 100%. Test on the things that you go over in the class. That's why people show up to the class, is to learn the things that you think are important, which are the things that you should be testing them on. And if you don't think the things are important that you're going over in class, go over different things. Yeah.
Why are you even?
Yeah, your goal should not be to trick your students. It's just terrible. Anyway, that was just a pet peeve that I remember from having had that occasionally happen in college. So here we go.
I taught 15 years, and I despise those kind of classes and teachers that want to try to make somebody fail.
Absolutely. I'll drink for that, Kent. I'll take another drink.
We have a word in English called expire, which means to breathe out. That's when you die. You breathe out. The word inspire means to breathe in. And the Bible says all Scripture is given by inspiration of God. It's God-breathed. This book is God's Word. Now, you should have gotten tonight a notebook. If you did not get one, raise your hand.
Wait, I didn't get one. Did you? Okay, hands up? Okay.
Hands up.
I didn't. You can't see it, but my claws are up. Well, as far up as they can go. I can't really raise them above my head, because I don't have that super flexible shoulder joint like you do. Or that ridiculously short, stubby neck.
I know, right?
What is up with that? How many...
You need a longer neck.
How many cervical vertebrae do you need?
I think 7.
You need at least a dozen more. Mammals are so weird.
No, I think 7's good.
No. Next you're going to tell me the giraffe has 7 cervical vertebrae.
I haven't counted.
It's true, actually, they do. They're ridiculous. They kind of look like femurs, just from the basis of the length. They're ridiculous. Yeah. Here we go.
This notebook will come with the course. It is just my regular seminar notebook that I give out. Why don't you keep a few spares back there? And as people come in, Heidi can get those to them.
By the way, there aren't nearly enough likes on this video.
One of the things I want you to do during the course of this 10-week course is read through the notebook. And I'd like some input on this for, I guess, a selfish reason. I want you to see if you see any mistakes in there. You can be my proofreaders. Because we're going to print... what?
You might see some mistakes there?
I see quite a few mistakes, actually.
You don't say. See, this is why we should have been there for this. Because that notebook... I would have had to request like 12 more notebooks just for this session, probably.
Excuse me. I need more.
Oh, wait, Andrew Cummings says, Dapper Dino, I don't see any, think a dinosaur has anything on a goose unless you say it's an avian dinosaur. That's exactly what I would say. Geese are dinosaurs. Yeah. Look, here's the here's the thing, right? Geese are just as much a dinosaur as a T-Rex or a Triceratops.
Yeah.
There's, just like humans are just as much a mammal as a mouse is or as a platypus is. Which actually, the mammalian classification of humans is they're going to be the subject of a video that I will probably, depending on how much I get done tomorrow, I'll probably start writing the script for that tomorrow.
Nice.
Yeah, tomorrow's focus is recording, animating, editing, and uploading the next Speculative Evolution video, which will hopefully be up Thursday. But if I finish that soon enough, I will start script writing for a video about the mammalian nature of humanity. And yeah, this is a little sneak preview. I can't talk today. I say that all the time. I should just get better at talking, right? So this is gonna be a little sneak peek of what's coming. Yeah. Now you might think this isn't a very controversial thing that humans are mammals, and you're right. But there's a rhetorical point there. Here we go.
5,000 copies of this coming up soon. We don't want any typographical errors. And also, if you see anything that's totally missing from the book, you say, Brother Hovind, you ought to have a section on whatever, you know. We print the notebook ourselves and can simply add sections to it. So if you see something that might be interesting, or you see something that's not in there that we discussed that you say it ought to be in the notebook, just make a list or make a note and hand it to me, and we will add that.
All right, so real quick, I just want to say hello to Zenmorph here, because, okay, not too long ago, I started noticing that I was getting some comments from some really old Kent with Bent videos. I mean, like Kent with Bent, like 2, right? Where I didn't even have the avatar that you can currently see on Bent's couch right there, right? And I was like, oh, that's funny. And then it turns out that Zenmorph42, this dude like binged all of Kent with Bent, and I'm just like, I don't even know how you can do that, man. That's amazing. Thank you very much for all of your comments, presumably likes and views, because, dude, I've never done that. That is awesome. So thank you very much, Zenmorph. It is very much appreciated. And you had some really good comments, too. So it's great to actually have you here live. I've been waiting for that because, man, you decided you weren't going to just jump in. You were going to catch up. And you did it in like 2 weeks or something crazy. And I don't know how you did it, man. But nice. Good on you. All right, so here we go. Let's get a little bit more Kent in. Yeah.
So the Bible says that the Scripture is inspired by God, and it is profitable for doctrine. The word doctrine means what we teach on, what we believe on a particular topic. There are different Bible doctrines. There's the doctrine of salvation.
Oh, wait, and Megan Fox Giant Boob says, I recently hit a goose with my car following advice you gave your audience. I don't claim responsibility for that. I hope your car's okay, and the goose deserved it.
The doctrine of eschatology, which is, future events, what's going to happen in the future. There's all sorts of different Bible doctrines. It's profitable for doctrine, for reproof, for correction, for instruction in righteousness. Notice there are 4 things given there. 2 of them are negative, and 2 of them are positive. And this is this excellent sandwich method of teaching. If you want to say something negative to somebody, you sandwich it in between 2 compliments. Boy, you look great today. Now, you did a lousy job working yesterday, but we know you can do better tomorrow. You sandwich your negative in between 2 positives, and that's the way the Lord did it here. It's profitable for doctrine. That's teaching. That's good. For reproof, well, nobody likes to be reproved. For correction, nobody likes to be corrected. And then for instruction, another positive at the end. So that's the sandwich method, which is an interesting way of teaching.
All right. I'm just going to have to say, I'm not here to comment on the spiritual viability of the Bible as your guide for spirituality or ethics or any of those things. I'm just going to say that if you think that you want to get your science from the Bible, then remember, if you want stripy cattle, make sure you feed them in front of stripy sticks. Except that that's not how genetics works. So, because that's what Kent does, I'm going to take a quick drink here.
Yeah, but have you tried that?
I'll tell you what. You buy me the cattle and the sticks, and I will try it.
I haven't.
Well, buy me some cattle and sticks.
If we had more super chats, maybe.
There you go. Guys, it's all on chat. If they can fund cattle purchases, we'll open up a Valley of the Sun cattle ranch where we have to pipe in way too much water. The goose deserved it. Look, I stand by it. Geese are the worst. I have no sympathy for a dead goose. So Andrew Cummings says, do you think Kent understands the fundamental assumptions of science? No. Either he doesn't, or he does and he lies about it.
I don't even think he would believe that they exist.
That might be, yeah. He might. So he probably has some kind of weird, like, Christian presuppositionalist ideas about what science is supposed to do. But my guess is that if you directly asked him, like, hey, what are the basics of science? You know, things like inductive reasoning, the general temporal invariance of scientific laws, empiricism, falsifiability, these things. I don't think he can name any of those things. And GFish17 says that my voice reminds him of Spiked Viper. I hope that's good. That's not me. In case that was a question. I don't know. Hopefully Spiked Viper has a good voice. I mean, I've got nothing on, like, say, like a Lawrence Fishburne. But Mr. Archaeopteryx sends a thumbs up, super sticker for $1.99. There you go. I just saw Lawrence Fishburne the other day, and I was like, man, that dude's got a really good speaking voice. I like it. I liked him. Yeah. That's just why I thought of it. It's because he was in, I was watching some review of a movie or something that I liked, and I wanted to see what this particular guy had to say about it. And there was a clip with it, and I was like, oh yeah, Lawrence Fishburne. Anyway, back to Kent with Bent. We can't... I realize that I'm now just distracting myself from Kent Hovind by talking about things like actors.
Like Lawrence Fishburne.
Right. Oh, Spiked Viper is a Let's Player? I've done some Let's Plays. I might do one after this on my off-topic channel. So if you like Let's Plays and you like Dapper Dino, check out Top Hats Off. It's linked on my channel page. If one of my mods wants, they can drop a link in the, what do you call it? The live chat.
That a lot of parents need to learn, including myself. I don't always do that, but that's what you try to strive for. So if the Scripture is profitable, and in Revelation chapter 1, it says there's a blessing to those that read and to those that hear. Just reading and hearing God's Word will provide a blessing. It'll nourish you. By the way, if at any time you have any questions or want to comment or talk further on to something, don't understand something, raise your hand, and we will be glad to stop and take your question.
Too bad that won't work for us, because I would have a lot of questions. A lot of questions.
Number one, how dare you?
Yes. Goodness. All right, here we go. Also, who do you think you are? That would be number 2.
Okay, which Tuesday night are we going to meet?
Wait, I thought they said Thursdays. Whatever. We are meeting Tuesdays.
March 9th. There you go, brother. All right, you get a crazing. Okay, very good. What does the word inspire mean? Ooh, that was close. Who got that one? Becky? Okay, there you go, Becky. Steve is drooling now. He wants
in his hand and then just give it to someone?
Well, this was in the pre-plague times, man. This is back when this is back when touching something that someone else had touched with their bare hands didn't make you want to soak it in hand sanitizer. Remember those days?
Maybe. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. Like,
I don't.
You don't remember those times?
I can't remember that far back.
Where, like, if you had, like, a stick of gum, you could just... you might still hand it in the foil wrapper, but, like, people wouldn't be careful about where they touched the foil wrapper.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas now you would. Yeah. Actually, that reminds me, the other day, I had a flat tire, turns out the air valve, you know, where you use to fill up the tire, thing just failed at some point. So I go out to my car to get groceries, and there's just a flat tire, just completely flat. So I get to the tire place, and they're not quite open yet. I'm like, ah, great. So this tire place has very inexpensive tire replacements, but it's cash only. I don't just carry cash with me. So when I got my car in there, and I was just like, hey, I'm gonna go to the ATM. He's like, hey, hold up. When you come back, bring 2 monsters, one for me and one for you, and use the $40 that you get to pay for it, and then we're good. So, but when I got to the gas station, yeah. So when I get to the gas station though, and I took the money, like my hand touched the cashier's hand, and I was like, I don't have any hand sanitizer on me. Damn it. I was thinking to myself, that sucks. Like, it's a little rough that I feel like that's a thing I need to think about. But whatever, I did wash and sanitize my hands before I ever touched my mouth or face or anything. But yeah, it's a little rough. But oh well.
I work in a hospital and I wash my hands all the time.
Good.
And I have lotion because I need it because I wash my
hands all the time. Yeah. I've been using a bit more lotion too. But anyway, you know what? I get really scaly. Believe it or not.
Yeah, I bet. Because of all the scales you have.
All right, here we go.
Wants one. Don't share it with him. Let's think of another question. Never. I answered it myself. Never mind. We did that all the time. Remember, growing up. So if God's word is inspired, if it's breathed by God, well, then we better pay attention to what it says. He breathed in.
I was going to say that you're going to have to demonstrate that, but I realize he's in an audience that already universally accepts that, so I'll just let it go. Like, I don't think every discussion amongst Christians needs to start with the justification for them being Christians. Like, you can just say, because we're all whatever group of people, we're going to assume that those things are true and we can have the further discussions. Okay, that's fine. I'll let that go. If this were a discussion where he were in like a debate or something, I would say, well, you're going to have to actually, back up that claim, because that's not a claim that should just be accepted automatically. And you know what? I've heard people who had reasons that they considered decent for that, and I'm not going to tell you whether or not I have heard reasons that I think are decent, but I understand why some people would accept it, and I also understand why some people would reject it.
Into Adam's nostrils the breath of life, and he breathed into his word. This is inspired of God. And I tell folks in my seminar, I start off when I do my seminars, and the purpose of this is to teach you guys how I do my seminars and why. One of the things I do, I have a lot of visuals normally, dinosaurs, charts, posters, bright colors. This keeps everybody's attention this way. People who speak or teach.
Hey, we have to take a drink for Kent being right. That's true. Bright colors help keep people's attention on the visual aids. So there you go, Kent. You got one of the very most basic things about human behavior broadly correct. Yay!
It helped him.
I mean, yeah.
It helped him.
And it's good. You know what? It's honestly not bad advice. If you're going to use visual aids, don't make them like dull earth tones. Keep them bright. High saturation, high value. If you know about how you encode colors in computers.
Without visuals, I think, are failing to grasp, to get all they can into the students, okay? A picture says 1,000 words or more. All of my Bible verses that I use, you notice, are on my computer, and I hit a button and they go up on the screen. When a pastor stands in front of the church and says, turn in your Bibles, half the folks aren't doing it, right? So if there's a blessing in Revelation chapter 1 to those who hear and to those who read, they're only getting half of the blessing because they're only hearing it, they're not reading it.
What? Why can't it just be the same blessing?
It could be a joke. I think he's about to smirk and no one's going to laugh.
Okay, well, I'm going to drink now for stupid because that doesn't follow.
Okay.
But, yeah, I don't... Also...
We'll see.
I want to know what Kent imagines as the practical upshot of having a blessing from the reading and hearing of a part of the Bible. Like, what does he expect the difference in outcome to be for a person's life if they decided not to open up their Bible in church when the pastor says, now let's open up to Revelations 1-2? Also, I'm going to point out, there's a reason that all of the churches that have a scripture reading cycle for their various services that they follow that traces itself all the way back to, like the 3rd or 4th century. Don't include Revelation in that reading cycle. Because when you start harping too much on Revelation, you start thinking about really crazy stuff. And that's been a well-acknowledged fact in Christianity for 2,000 years now or so. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, there's a reason that basically 3/5 of the church at one point was like, is Revelation really something we want in the Bible? And then eventually they were like, yeah, okay, fine, but we're still not going to read it all the time. Yeah, it's... Here we go, though.
And so I want to make sure all the scriptures is bang, right there on the screen, and you can see it for yourself. The second thing I'd like you to notice that I do, and the reason for this, when I do scripture verses, if it's more than a few lines, I try to have different colors on there. I always highlight a few words in the verse. I try to get a few in the middle of the verse if possible, though that's not always possible. By putting some color in the middle, it makes it faster to read and for the brain to absorb all this information. This is just called a mnemonic device. Mnemonic is a...
Just real quick, citation needed on that one, but I think he's about to correctly define mnemonic device, so we can drink for that, hopefully.
Memory. A memory tool. I don't know how to spell mnemonic, and that won't be on the test since I don't know how to spell it, since I taught science, not spelling.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and say that's 2 drinks, because I think that's 1 true and 2 a joke.
Okay.
I have no doubt that Ken Hovind doesn't know how to spell well. And here we go. Actually, we know that. Remember when he put thought as THOT on one of his slides?
That was on purpose. I hope.
Yeah. So I don't know which Kent with bent with that was, but like, yeah. Seeing the thought THOT on a Kent Hovind's slide
Did he type
was
that,
amazing.
or did like an intern type?
No, I think he types his slides. I think Ken Hovind literally believed that was the correct spelling.
I think he was shortening it to save space. He's like, they'll know. What that
Just
means.
drop the font size down a couple points.
Just for that one word, though.
Well, when you find out that you have run out of space, it's not like you know which word it was that made you run out of space. It's all of them, right? You just drop it down a few points. Like, it's not like his slides...
To shorten it.
Yeah.
He decided to shorten it, and he didn't know what he was doing.
And T.D. Lane says, "Begone, Evo thought." And Tyler West says he doesn't spell well. Read his thesis. That's one of the things, like... Okay, I get that this was probably written before spell check was a big thing, but that's why you get yourself an editor. That's a thing you can do.
Or at least a proofreader.
Right. Yeah, like, I have several people to whom I send things to proofread. Yeah, and they come back and they're like, oh, hey, you need to fix this, this, and this, and this, and this, and this. And it's a good thing. Because the thing about your own writing is, you know what your thoughts were when you were writing it. So when you're writing it, your brain just kind of recalls the same thoughts that you were having, and you don't always catch the errors. And so, that's why my recommendation for anyone who's writing is, first, anytime you want to go back over your writing, you have to come back to it at least a day later. If it's less than 24 hours since you wrote it, don't reread it. It's useless. And second, send it to another person who has never read it and to whom you've not really discussed this with. Yeah, just do that. And, yeah, your writing will greatly benefit for it. But we'll get some more Kent in. We need all the Kent.
But memory devices are incredible, and the more of those you can get in your life, it's unbelievable how much your brain can retain if you learn to use mnemonic devices. For instance, you're learning the names of all the Great Lakes. There are 5 Great Lakes in America, right? Simple mnemonic device to remember them is the word Holmes. H-O-M-E-S. Huron, Ontario, Michigan, Erie, Superior. That's called a mnemonic device, something to aid you in memory. Some waitresses work very hard at that. You know, they can walk up to your table with 10 people there, don't even write a thing down. What would you like, sir? What would you like? What would you like? What do you want to drink? What do you want? You want cheese on that? And they come back and get it right.
Hey, you know what? Big props to the service industry workers out there who are working hard. They've been working right through this whole situation right now. And tip your waiters and waitresses, your delivery drivers, be nice to your cashiers, your customer service personnel. They do not deserve the abuse they get from their customers, and there's a reason why everyone who has ever worked at those jobs thinks of customers as just the worst. It's because they get treated like crap and they don't deserve it, so be nice to them out there. They, yeah. That's all I have to say as someone who has done those jobs. Yeah, be nice to them. But here we go. More Ken Hovind. That was just a quick little PSA.
My wife sends me to the store for a loaf of bread and a gallon of milk, and I have to call home from the store. Bread and what else was there? I just don't get it somehow. But a mnemonic device used when you're presenting material is to have, for one thing, maybe 6 lines maximum on my screen. 6 or 7. I try to do less the better. Big font, something they can see a mile away, and have some color in there. Timothy chapter 2 says, brain fade, it's been a long day already. Our job is to study to show ourselves approved unto God and to be ready to give an answer. And I'm afraid in the last 150 years, the Christians have not done a very good job of answering the skeptics and scoffers about the evolution theory.
Actually, most of them have done a great job by being like, oh yeah, that's true. Okay, sure. That's the correct way to answer the evolution theory. So, yeah. Oh, and hey, Sphincter of Doom is here, who has been on the show once and also been on Landing with Lyle once. So, welcome to the chat. And also welcome RJM Truth, Andrew Dodson, Monk Mayfair. I think there's a few others I probably missed. Apologies if I have missed you. It's not intentional, but, you know, I can only do so much. So, here we go, a little bit more Ken Hovind.
Had the Christians defended the Bible just like it says it 150 years ago, we wouldn't have this problem today with evolution in our schools. Even in 1925, in the Scopes monkey trial, Darrow, the atheist, got William Jennings Bryan on the witness stand and said, how old is the earth? Words to that effect. He said, oh, the earth is probably billions of years old. Right there, he blew it. At that time, in 1925, many Christians had accepted the great age of the earth and tried to incorporate it into their theology.
Kent got that right. I'm going to drink for that. Also, I'm going to say that Bryant didn't blow it for not being a complete moron, which is basically what Kent is saying. But then again, since Kent is a complete moron, I understand why he thinks that. I get it. So, also, RJM Truth, I believe I sent you an email not that long ago. I hope you got it. And if you're not the one I'm thinking of, then I hope you didn't get it, because then I would have sent it to the wrong person. But I think it was you.
And that is just the beginning of your downfall, as far as I'm concerned. The Bible teaches very clearly the earth is about 6,000 years old. We'll get into more of that later. So one of our jobs is to be ready always to give an answer to every man that asketh us a reason of the hope that is in you. Something that helps you memorize faster is called a mnemonic device. Steve, Dan, you're dying for one of those, aren't you? Eric, that's 3. We're going to get you taffy next time. Keep you a little busier chewing for a while. That helps, by the way, in devotions. Give the kid taffy instead. Then they can't answer the next question and gives the other kid a chance, especially a big wad of taffy like that. I tell folks in my seminar, there's a war going on.
What are you talking about?
Everybody.
Bribing kids to answer tests questions with candy, I guess.
But he just wouldn't stop talking about it.
Yeah, this is not the most concise Kent Hovind has ever been. But then again, he does like to wander onto tangents about things that are irrelevant, like how much Charles Darwin allegedly liked worms, for even though there's not really any evidence of that, and how much he hated birds, even though Charles Darwin was a pigeon fancier. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So Ken Hovind excuses, he explains Darwin's activity shooting birds on the second trip of the HMS Beagle by saying that he hated birds because they ate worms and he really liked worms. When in fact it was the collection of specimens, because that's how you describe a new species. You need to collect a specimen.
I'm sorry, what you just said.
There you go. He actually did that in my debate with him, in the section where he gave an almost entirely fictional and completely irrelevant biography of Charles Darwin. Yeah, which I just basically dismissed by saying, you gave a lot of stuff about Darwin, which I don't think was very accurate, but it's irrelevant, so I'm not going to address it. And then I just moved right on. That's all I said about it. Because it was... When I went into that debate, I was like, if Ken Hovind wants to waste his time on all this crap, I'm just going to let him.
He can.
Yeah, you can. If you want to spend your opening talking about complete irrelevancy, you have fun, Kent. And that was also my attitude with Mr. Batman in my more recent debate with Mr. Batman, where he also never said a single thing that was relevant. So, there you go.
Right.
Okay. Ought to find something to do. Okay, if you're not going to shoot, at least carry bullets. Everybody can do something. Very early in my seminar, as I present, I try to use humor, get people laughing, because when you start speaking and a certain percentage of the people aren't listening yet, they're not quite cued in. Okay.
Wait, Kent Hovind says he likes to use humor. That has to be a joke because Kent Hovind isn't funny. Take a drink.
Oh, sure.
Mostly I'm just trying to finish this off because in a little bit we're going to take our quick intermission. I'm not going to refill, so... Yeah. And Monk Bayford says he uses humor. That's a joke. Exactly. That is exactly the point. Yep. Mm-hmm. Oh, hey, Aztec Dragon. You're about halfway through the live stream. Sorry.
But if everybody starts laughing, those that weren't paying attention, what are they laughing about? Right? So the sooner you can use some laughter or a story to get started, like I tell the story of my brothers, which I'll share with you in just a minute. The reason I do laughter and stories is it grabs people's attention. And if you just get up and start preaching, I mean, that's great. I'm for preaching, but you need to preach effectively. Do it right, okay? I will say at this point, when I say there's a war going on, if you're not going to shoot, you can at least carry bullets. Then I say, God has a plan for everybody. Everybody can do something.
Let's get to a claim.
Even the worst of you can serve as bad as you, you know, and it kind of brings you down to, you can listen to me. You know. Well, anybody on my staff or family can tell you, I'm really about 4th grade level, okay?
Hey, that was both true and a lame joke.
I don't know if it was a joke. I think he was saying it.
Well, someone did laugh. I don't know.
No. I guess so.
Yeah.
I think he laughed.
But yeah, I actually do think that it's probably a reasonable estimate to say that Ken Hovind is at a 4th grade level on most topics, at least that he talks about extensively. I'd say he's actually probably in a weird, like senior in high school level on the Bible, just because he can quote extensively from it, and he usually gets that right, and he usually knows where to find the thing that he wants to talk about in the Bible when he wants to talk about the Bible. So
he knows some big words like cashmere.
Like the Kashmir effect. Oh man! By the way, if you guys haven't seen the King Crocoduck versus Kent Hovind debates, it's a 3-part debate series. It's going to take a while. It's going to be, what is it, like 8.5 hours total or something?
Is it really that much?
Oh man! Like each one of them is like 2.5 hours or something, and there's like 3 of them. I don't know. It's crazy. But anyway, they're really good. I think they're on the Steve McRae channel. But anyway, yeah. If you just search like King Crocoduck, Kent Hovind, it's great. And at one point, Crocoduck brings up the Casimir effect, which is an effect that uses vacuum energy to clamp 2 plates of metal shut, and it's like a quantum mechanics thing. And Kent Hovind not only has not heard of it, but he can't stop calling it the Kashmir effect, and he even makes a joke about cashmere sweaters. It's
a couple times.
Yes, and this is also the debate series where he keeps asking King Crocoduck to explain various concepts in science for the audience. And it becomes very clear very quickly that whenever Kent Hovind says, "Why don't you explain it for the audience?" it means, I have absolutely no freaking clue what the heck you're talking about. Please explain it to me. It's great. Please go watch them. Not right now though. Finish this video first.
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
You have to grow old. You don't have to grow up. That's been my philosophy for years, and I intend to be a kid as long.
Oh yes, and TNAV says they're on King Crocodile's channel too, and I've forgotten that they're also mirrored there because I believe they were held on Steve's channel. So yeah, whichever one, or switch back and forth. I don't care. You do what you do you. But yeah, I believe they're also on King Crocodile's channel, which I mean, you should be checking out that channel anyway. It has good content.
Long as possible. Finally, I decided I would finish the degree because I felt like it would open more doors and let me reach some people that I couldn't reach otherwise. But I don't think you have to have any degrees. You know, everybody can reach somebody right where you are. You could start a class right now in your neighborhood teaching on dinosaurs and bring all the 6-year-olds in.
Oh my goodness. I'm going to take a drink because, no, do not just as some guy who doesn't know a damn thing about dinosaurs start teaching kids about dinosaurs. You don't know anything about them. Just like Kent doesn't even know what they are. That's the kind of thing that annoys me.
He's never even considered what they are.
He's like, oh, hey, all of you guys who don't know the first thing about any of the topics we're about to talk about, which is why you're in this class listening to me, why don't you just right now go start teaching little kids? Why? No! That's a stupid idea. You're just going to fill the kids' heads full of, well, probably lies, or just your inane, ignorant ramblings about things you don't know anything about. So, yeah, that's the kind of thing that... Okay, so the thing that most annoys me about Ken Hovind is things like, you know, the child abuse, the lack of safety at his park, the spousal abuse, the almost certain employee abuse, which, by the way, a guy named, or actually I don't know if it's a guy, but a person who goes by Ken Hovind's employee on YouTube said that he or she was going to email me. I'm not sure if that happened. I hope it did, because if that's an accurate name, then I am interested. I did also reach out to a guy who used to work for Ken Hovind, but he never got back to me. But I believe his channel is called Lies of the Devil, and he's still very much a fundamentalist Baptist, but he and his wife escaped from what, according to them, was a very abusive situation from Ken Hovind at Dinosaur Adventureland. Yeah. And apparently he's somehow accused them of fornicating for sleeping together after they were married on Dinosaur Adventureland, and then they were, you know, sharing a room in Dinosaur Adventureland, and apparently that wasn't okay. I don't know. Basically on the basis that they weren't legally married at the time because they didn't have the certificate, which, by the way, Ken Hovind's current quote-unquote wife, and he also, as far as I know, do not have a valid marriage certificate, so, Anyway, for $5 dues, Christopher Hugan says, can you church a link to the Batman debate in the chat, please? And I believe he means put a link, because I don't know how to church links. Except I guess you bring them to church and now they're churched. That's a verb, right? Like South Korea is the most churched country in... Yeah, you just take the link to church.
You just go into the church and just...
With a link.
HTTPS.
You just write it down and you put it. You take it inside the church and you put it down on a chair. Now it's a church link.
Scream the URL out as loud as you can in church.
Okay. All right. So I won't do that, mostly because I feel like that would be ill received. But
maybe it's paste.
But if any of my any of my mods who wants to do that real quick, because we're going to take our intermission. I will be back in just a few minutes with a new drink. So, yeah. The Mr. Batman debate, by the way, was also on the Modern Day Debate, but for selfish reasons, if you could post the mirror that I have on my channel, I would prefer that. But here we go. Intermission time. I want to take a moment to talk about something serious. There is a problem facing late surviving non-avian dinosaurs in modern America. Hunting is very strictly regulated, and only allowed at certain times of the year. This means that for much of the year we have to rely on farm-raised food, which means money. If you want to help a starving dinosaur, please consider donating on Patreon, or buying from my merch store. Links are in the description. Please help. Dinosaurs all over YouTube are depending on you to help them through the hunting off-season.
Drinking to that since no one laughed. It's fair. We got to be fair. And so can I, by the way. So if I do, no sound.
F, that was me. Sorry. Oh, I'm the worst at this. By the way, I said, hey, man, it's good to have you here, man. And then we drank.
Well, they can hear me at least.
I'm the worst at this. Just fire me. Everyone should just you know what we need at some point is a roast of Dapper Dino, except it's muted the whole time. That's what we need. Because every single stream, I at some point end up muting myself accidentally, and everyone has to tell me.
Oh, that wasn't... Okay, well, that's fine.
I did cut it off before Godzilla Monk Mayfair, basically because I was back and Ken Hovind got back, and I was just like, let's just keep going. I want to get through as much of this intro video as I can, because I have a feeling it's going to be the most boring of the CSE videos. It's like the intro to CSE 101. So, yeah.
Right? They don't ask questions about carbon dating and potassium argon dating and all that stuff. They just want some adult to talk to them and explain how dinosaurs fit in and how the Bible is right.
Okay. So what Kent here is saying is, please talk to kids before they become smart enough to know how much BS you're spraying at them, and get them while they're young, so that way they'll already believe all of your nonsense. Don't wait until they're old enough to have actually done any research on it or anything. No. Zenmorph 42 says not every stream. Well, you would know, dude, because you have watched so many of them in such a short time that I'm still frankly just amazed. You would know. At some point, I'm gonna just have to go ahead and just appoint you as like my official like YouTube biographer. When the Dapper Dino memoirs come out, you're gonna have to proofread them. And the response I expect is like, oh yeah, sure, let me just watch every single one of your videos, and then 3 days later he gets back to me. That's the actual response I think might happen if I did that. Okay, here we go. More cans.
So you don't need to wait until you got some big bunch of degrees behind your name, so they call you Dr. Fahrenheit.
What?
Just get started on something.
Wait, was Dr. Is that a joke? Is that a joke?
Because Fahrenheit measures temperature in degrees.
Oh my goodness. Oh, gross. That was terrible.
It was.
And we got a Godzilla. Today's been very Godzilla light.
That's the first one since the test.
Was it Bob Knob? We're gonna see if it was Bob Knob, because that's... Oh no, it was Nikki! Oh, and there she is again. Why isn't Nikki just here? I'm gonna ask her. Oh, and there's Bent.
I said say hi to Nikki for me, that's what I...
Oh, alright. I'll say it to her.
Yes, that was a joke.
Alright, there you go. Oh, I didn't drink for your Godzilla that you sent. And
I did.
Yes, I am selective with who gets to create the Godzilla noises, both in terms of exactly what they are, and also because they might be abused. And I don't want to die of liver failure tonight. I want to die of liver failure. I want to die of liver failure in 30 years.
I never want to die of liver failure.
Oh, yeah, it's got to be something.
Yeah, I know.
There's worse things than liver failure.
There's better things than liver failure.
Also true. Like just getting stabbed through the brain in the night. You don't even feel it.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go.
Yeah.
Demonetized.
Just do something. Now, when you're steering a car, if the car isn't rolling, turning the wheel doesn't do any good, does it? You're still facing the same way. Get rolling. Do something. Then it's easy. For one thing, it's easier to steer. Okay? I think it's easier for God to guide a Christian that's doing something. People often say, did God call you to this ministry? I don't.
Wait. Hold up. God's omniscient in Christian theology, right?
Usually.
Okay. So if he's steering you, shouldn't it not matter what you're doing?
Maybe?
I mean, okay. If you can do literally anything, and we'll give it the caveat that most Abrahamic religion, well, actually, yeah, still most. Islam is a weird exception in some circumstances, but Christianity, Judaism, and as far as I know, Rastafarianism, and all the offshoots that are like mostly Christian-ish, as well as the sort of crossover Judaism, Christianity thing that is Messianic Judaism. As far as I know, they all generally agree that God can do anything that isn't a logical contradiction. Okay. So it shouldn't matter what you're doing. If God wants to take the wheel, like, take the wheel, Jesus, if he wants to actually do that, what you're doing shouldn't matter. Because otherwise, either he's not omniscient, or he's not steering you. Now, you might say that he's giving you some guidance in accordance and letting you have your free will or whatever. That's okay. Fair enough. That's at least a logical possibility. But steering is not the same thing. When you steer a car, you're not asking it to do things for you. You are physically controlling that car. You're in charge. The car goes where you make it go. So, I'm just gonna have to go ahead and say, I guess Ken Hovind just rejected the omniscience of God. That's the only way I can take it. I doubt he would agree with me, but that's the actual information content of what he just gave us. Is that God isn't omniscient. Ken Hovind, I don't know when this was made, but it looks like it was made in like 1992 or something.
It's such a good look he's got on his face right now. Bring up that still real quick.
Oh, it's up.
You know, the audience, yeah.
Oh wait, look, he's got the little the reptoid eye that all the conspiracy theorists like to go on about, which is, you know,
what's happening right now
compression
is
glitch.
receiving a signal from space.
T.D. Lane says Messianic Judaism, a crossover fanfic. I mean, kind of. it kind of is. I mean, hey, look, I've known some really great Messianic Jews, and you know what, you guys, you do you. I'm not here to tell you not to. But it's a weird thing because it's not terribly well received in either Jewish or Christian communities. So, yeah, I kind of feel for the sense of isolation that you would have in terms of not really, you're not really well received in either group, and that's it's gonna be rough, man. So here we go.
No. Honestly, it just needs to be done, that's all. Just go do it. And somebody needs to reach the kids in your neighborhood. So then I'll say I live in Pensacola, Florida, and I try very hard in my seminar to have as many pictures as possible. There's now about nearly 3,000 pictures in my seminar in the 15 different hours that I give, 15 different sessions. And I have a map, Pensacola, Florida. Because if I just say that, some of the people in, you know, Australia, when I'm speaking over there, where's Pensacola? You know, they barely know where USA is. And this gives them a map and a picture, Pensacola, Florida, with an arrow pointing to it, right here. So it's goof-proof, okay? Or at least idiot.
Hey, you know what? I have checked the maps before to see where Pensacola is, and that is a broadly accurate map, so I'm going to drink, because Ken Hovind found out where he lived at the time, right? So. Also, I think goof-proof was supposed to be a joke.
I thought so too.
So, well, we'll drink for that too.
Like a funny rhyme.
I think it was supposed to be funny, and also because Ken Hovind is on the record saying that he doesn't like the word idiot. So.
Resistant. Then I'll say I have 3 kids, 1 of each. And at that time, you find out who's really listening and who's not. A few of them say,
well, that was a joke, but I'm also going to start skipping some of this procedural nonsense, because I don't care how he gives his courses.
I think that's what the lesson is. He doesn't even know how to teach.
Alright, well, I'm still going to skip. Oh! There's Godzilla. I'm still going to skip 30 seconds.
And Tanya's brother, Vitaly, also is on my staff. Vitaly, raise your hand. And Jan, her other brother. Jan.
RJM Truth says, Kent is the panhandler from the Panhandle. I love that. It's so true. I'm taking a drink for that one. That was great. Oh. Thank you, RJM Truth. Who actually is RJM Truth my second exception to the rule that if truth is in your username, I think you're completely full of crap? Because the first exception that I'm aware of explicitly making was Speak Truth, Seek Truth, who is a former flat earther. If you don't know about him, he uploads some pretty interesting content about sort of the philosophy and psychology behind flat Earth. And basically what happened was he issued a challenge to, I believe it was Conspiracy Cats, to debunk a few of his videos. And so Conspiracy Cats took him up on the challenge, completely expecting that he would not actually care about any of the things that Conspiracy Cats said, but, you know, it's going to be good content either way. But no, the dude was just like, oh, okay, I guess I was wrong then. And it's like, hey...
He's got quite a few videos, I think, where he's arguing for the flat Earth.
Yeah, so...
and then an I was wrong video, and then everything after that is like, flat Earth is a lie.
Yeah,
that's
so,
cool.
Yeah, that's... And the thing is, regarding young Earth creationism, that was me at one point. And it was Bent, too, right? That's why we both have episodes of Leaving Young Earth Creationism. And, yeah, so it's always nice to see someone who has got caught up in some craziness like Flat Earth or Young Earth Creationism. And yes, I am saying that young Earth creationism is at least as crazy as young Earth, or sorry, flat Earth. Step back and reassess the actual evidence and say, oh, hey, nope, that's not a thing. So yeah, I think I now have 2 exceptions to my general rule that if you have the word truth in your username, pretty much everything you say is a lie. So I guess if too many more people like that come around, I'm gonna have to start changing my rule. I don't want to, but here we go, more Kent.
And Tanya do video duplication. They make the...
Oh, hold up. RJM Truth was YEC? Okay, RJM Truth. After this, I want you to go to my channel page, look at the About section, get my email, or just use the.dapper.dino.yt@gmail.com. Email me. I want you on for a Leaving Young Earth Creationism episode. Just send me an email about that. Actually, you have my email. What am I talking about? You got my email. You emailed me. Yeah, never mind about how to get my email. You have it. Send me an email, and we will schedule a Leaving Young Earth Creationism. Because I always love hearing those stories and helping people tell those stories. Unless, of course, you don't want to. In which case, hey, that's fine. No pressure. But I would love to have you on for that.
Copies of the videotapes. They'll be making copies of this tape. And then Vitaly, what do you do, Vitaly? Do you do anything?
That was a joke, Drink.
Okay. He runs our printing press, and he's also been translating all of my material into Russian. Their family's from the Ukraine. And we have 5 out of 7 parts done, and the others coming quickly, right, Vitaly? Right, as soon as possible, getting everything into Russian. We want to get the gospel over there. Then I show them the family portrait. Again, here it's, down home, here's me. And if you guys, I assume, have your own family portrait
goodness.
You stick in there. Right, so to that. Every religion is really a worldview, a way of looking at the world. Roland, did you get a notebook?
So I would say every religion has a worldview. But the thing is that religions aren't just the beliefs. They're also the community and the actions and ceremonies and rituals that are performed, right? So a religion can be identified via its belief system, but the religion as a whole also includes the members of the religion who accept the belief claims, as well as the behaviors that they undertake because of their membership in the religion, right? So part of Christianity is, say, the Eucharist or the Lord's Supper or communion or whatever you're going to call it, because that's a ritual that is essentially universal among Christians. And so that's a part of the religion. So to say a religion is and then not include those things, it's a little iffy. It's not so stupid it's a drink trigger, but I just want to point out that there is more to a religion than just that. So there you go. I don't know if you wanted to add anything there.
No, not really.
All right. Here we go.
No? Who's got this? Heidi got spares there? Hand one back to Roland. And I show the questions first. I don't dwell on it long. I don't even normally give them long enough to write it down, because I go right into the fact that there are 2 ways to answer these questions. 2 opposite ways to answer them, depending upon how you view the world. And the 2 worldviews are people who look at the world and say, it's amazing. A Big Bang made this from nothing. That's...
I'm going to drink, because the Big Bang doesn't say that everything came from nothing. At t equals 0, per the Big Bang, there is something. Now, we can argue about Lawrence Krauss's use of the word nothing in his book, A Universe from Nothing, but it's not what most people would describe as nothing, although it is as close to nothing as it might be possible to get. There's actually an open philosophical question as to whether or not nothing is a thing that could exist, right? It's possible that nothing isn't a concept that really means anything. So, yeah. In other words, there are basically nothing non-cognitivists as opposed to, theological non-cognitivists. But, yeah. It's, Also, Andrew Cummings just, in all caps, said thank you to me. You're welcome. I just wish I knew what I had done to elicit such strong emotion. But, There you go. Oh, wait. Erica is moderating over at Modern Day Debate? Oof, that sounds rough. I might have to talk to her after to see if she's going to be okay after that. Oh, man. Yeah, some of the Modern Day debates lately, especially in the past few weeks, have been just gigantic dumpster fires, including that weird debate with Mr. Batman and Jim Majors, which, I'll just say this. In the wake of that, I feel uncomfortable with the idea that Mr. Batman is allowed around children. I don't want to go much farther than that, because I don't want the stream taken down, but, oh, my glorious fix on Ken Hovind's Big Bang idea is what you got for the thank you, Andrew? Alright, awesome. That's good. Anyway, yeah, let's get back to Ken Hovind, because I do not want to talk about Mr. Batman and his extremely unsettling and creepy discussion with Jim Majors. Ugh. Don't watch it, by the way. It's not worth it. Or if you do, watch it on Jim Majors' channel. Don't watch it on Modern Day Debate or Mr. Batman's channel, because I don't think that further appearances by Mr. Batman should be encouraged. So,
Called the humanist worldview, which basically says there is no God, so we must be God because we're the highest evolved creature.
what?
That's the humanist.
What is it? No. No. I'm gonna take a drink. Evolution doesn't have some kind of ranking system for how evolved you are.
Dinosaurs were the highest evolved. I get it.
No, nothing is the highest evolved because it's a meaningless phrase, right? Like, okay, I'm gonna get deeply nerdy here, right? So in D&D lore, there's this concept called the ordning, in which all of the giants and giantkin fit into some great, like, hierarchy of importance. And for giants, the most important thing is your rank in the ordning. And there's a whole chain. Hypothetically, you could list all of the currently living giants in their order in the ordning. You couldn't actually do it in D&D because, you know, it would take too long and whatever. Probably die first. But hypothetically, it would be possible to go from, like, the top ranking king of all the storm giant or cloud giants or whatever. I don't remember which one's at the top. All the way down to, like, the lowliest troll. That's not how evolution works. Evolution works by branching and increasing biodiversity, and then some lines go extinct and some others continue, and nothing is quote-unquote more evolved. There's a reason that scientists don't even use the words primitive and advanced anymore. Because originally they weren't supposed to be value judgments. Primitive just meant from earlier times or more similar to the common ancestor, and advanced meant more changed. That's the reason why evolutionary biology has switched from primitive to basal and from advanced to derived. Because there isn't something that's more evolved. Horseshoe crabs aren't less evolved than humans. Even though their morphology is far more basal among Chelicera, which is the group of arthropods which includes like arachnids and horseshoe crabs and sea spiders. They're much more basal among the chelicerates than humans are amongst the mammals. Humans are ridiculously derived. That doesn't mean they're more evolved. It's not a thing. It doesn't mean anything. But anyway, here we go. I'm Ken Hovind. Man, we still have an hour left of this, and oh my goodness. I'm so sorry, everybody.
Worldview, which I have here, the evolution or humanist worldview of history, says it all began 20 billion years ago. It just created itself.
Even when Kent did this, he knew it wasn't 20 billion, or he should have known it wasn't 20 billion. It's more like 14 and a half. I'm taking a drink. Just because, no, Kent. No. Stop just getting it wrong.
There is no creator. The other worldview is people who look at the world and say, well, it's incredible design. There must be a designer. A very smart designer.
Okay, I'm going to take another drink for stupidity. Because here's the thing. There is no evident design in the natural world. That doesn't mean there isn't design. You know, I don't really care to address the anthropic principle and how that ties into potential arguments for or against God. Like, I don't know it well enough. I don't care enough. Whatever. Just leave it alone. But on Earth, in terms of, or just the solar system, or even the galaxy, or the galaxies that we can see, there is no evident design. Nothing that's out there right now, with the one possible exception, which I will get into afterwards, like immediately afterwards, nothing in those areas had to have been designed. We have reasonable non-design explanations for essentially everything other than things that we happen to know of as human artifacts, or in some cases, chimp artifacts, because chimps have actually... There's actually an archaeological record for chimpanzees, believe it or not. It's not terribly long, it's not terribly sophisticated, but it exists. So, with those couple exceptions there, and then my only other caveat is that because we do not currently have a theory for abiogenesis, while there is not currently evident design in just the formation of life, I can't say that we have ruled it out yet. So, okay. And honestly, if it turns out that life was absolutely definitely designed and therefore there had to be a designer, then okay. I mean, I don't have a dog in that fight. Like, I'm not a dedicated, no, nothing could possibly be designed in biology. Like, if it turns out that there was actually an almost certainly supernatural intervention to create life, well, that's kind of cool, because that means there's all sorts of things are probably possibly real, at least, that otherwise we could have just said, maybe, maybe not. Like, I would not at all be opposed to the idea that, yeah, no. Abiogenesis is completely unexplainable. But the actual fact of the matter is we're getting closer and closer to a reasonable theory of abiogenesis. So don't hold your breath for a supernatural explanation. But if in fact there were scientists just threw up their hands and said, we literally can't get any farther, we can't explain this naturalistically, I would not be upset. It's just, that's not the way it's looking. But, yeah, we'll get some more Ken Hovind. Also, I feel like this is a cartoon of Ken Hovind, and that's how he sees himself. Which...
That's how he sees.
And that's a joke, and I'm going to laugh. I'm going to drink at it. Yeah, you can... Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's how he sees himself. And then, and then he has the audacity to make fun of Paul Enns from Apologia for making a cartoon avatar. And be like, oh, look how muscular he is in his avatar. It's like, Kent, look at the cartoons you draw of yourself. Or you probably didn't draw them, but that you had drawn of yourself. Those are in no way accurate depictions of you. Like, come on. You're gonna criticize Apologia for that? Like, no. Ugh. Okay, sorry. Let's actually get back to Kent. If I can hit the play button, there we go.
That is called the creationist worldview, which I have right here, the creation worldview. These are basically the only options. Somebody made the world, or nobody made the world.
Or somebody's made the world, or the world was made supernaturally by an impersonal force, or the world, in fact, was made up by a bunch of ants who got together. Like, there's a literal infinite number of logically consistent possibilities. Now, most of them are probably going to be inconsistent with the actual evidence that we have, but if all we're starting with is the universe exists, how'd that happen, and you have, like, you're not going to investigate it at all, there's a literal infinite number of possibilities. You can always come up with a new one that's slightly different from any previous one that's ever been proposed. So, no, it's not just anybody or nobody. There are a whole host of, and by a whole host, I mean a literally uncountably infinite number of possible explanations for the existence of the universe. And by possible, I mean not logically inconsistent. So, yeah, no, Kent, you do not get to raise the false dichotomy without being called out on it. I'm going to take a drink for that being stupid. And this is one of those areas where earlier in the stream I said I would be raising my hand a lot. This is one of those areas where I definitely would have raised my hand and be like, hold up. Why are we just dismissing all of the other religions that exist? Or all the other religions that could exist? Yeah.
There's no other options. Now, if you believe somebody made the world, then of course there's a lot of options within this category. Was it Allah or Buddha or Jehovah or, who was it? Okay.
Okay, I'm going to take a drink. Because Ken Hovind just said that apparently some people think that Buddha created the world. Literally no one.
No one should think that.
No one should think that, because Buddhism doesn't say that. According to Buddhism, the Buddha was a dude who, granted, was the fulfillment of prophecy or whatever, but he was not the creator of the world. I do not know of any Buddhist teachings that would say that Buddha was the creator of the world. As far as I know, Buddhism doesn't take a stance on the origin of the universe. Now, I might be wrong on that, but yeah, I do know that, as far as I know, no branch of Buddhism teaches that Buddha created the world. So, yeah. Anyway, here we go. More Kent. Also, I just want to point out, I've gone through way more of my drink in the second half of the show than I did in the first. I might have to get a third drink today, which I haven't had to do in a while. Yeah. I usually keep it to 2, granted, pretty stiff, but 2 drinks. I guess if you're going to go count by like those alcohol charts, they're actually like at least 2.5 drinks each, but whatever.
That gets into a whole other argument of which God made the world, and when did he make it, and how did he make it, is another set of arguments, but basically, I'm settling it into 2 camps. Either there is a creator, or there isn't a creator. And so that kind of lays the groundwork for where I'm going to be going with my seminar. I say there's 2 worldviews. And which of these views you choose to adopt will determine how you answer the 4 great questions of life.
Okay, but here's the other thing that bothers me about this. Kent has up on his creation worldview chart, which he acknowledges is actually a false dichotomy, by explaining that it actually isn't just either one of these. But the thing is, on your chart, Kent, you have your interpretation of the Bible. To say that the top one might include Allah, which arguably is the same God as the Christian God, I don't really care to have that discussion, but Muslims would say it's true. Some Christians would say it's not. Some Christians would say it is. The Catholic Church has officially come out saying it is the same God, whatever. Or Krishna, or Brahma, or like whatever. Odin, Mithra, I don't care, right? But you're the one who's putting on your chart that is one of the 2 options an explicitly Christian, and not just Christian, but fringe Christian history timeline. That means you know that you're setting up a false dichotomy, Kent. And I don't know why I'm addressing Kent in the second person. He's not here. He's never going to watch this, but whatever. Yeah, that's what that... I doubt it. Although I would really like there to be a whacking atheist about me. Because 1, it would be fun to hear Ken Hovind get butthurt about my streams. And 2, Ken Hovind has absolutely no evidence that I'm an atheist. Although he actually did recently do a whacking atheist on... Well, he said it was about Kamala Harris, but then he spent the whole time talking about biologos, which Kamala Harris has nothing to do with, so I don't understand. And also, Kamala Harris is... Well, yeah, and Kamala Harris is, I think, Catholic, and biologos is an explicitly evangelical, or Protestant, at least, ministry. So it's a little weird to have a whacking atheist on 2 self-identified... Well... a group of self-identified Christians. It's like, none of these people are atheists, right, Kent?
Not one of them.
I mean, I guess Kamala Harris might be a secret atheist. I have no evidence either way, but I doubt everyone at Biologos is.
My assumption is that since she's a politician, she probably doesn't care about anything. She just gives the answer she thinks she's supposed to give.
That could be, yeah, that's...
But I'm also a little cynical on that kind of thing.
Yeah, I don't want to get too far into that, but I don't necessarily disagree. All right, here we go.
And these 2 worldviews, creation and evolution, are absolutely at war with each other. Charles Darwin's book was written in 1859. That'll be a quiz question. When was Darwin's book written? 1859.
Oh, German Furman says, what if God was like a kid doing a science experiment? He made life, noticed it was evolving, and was like, yo, that's neat, and decided to just watch what happens. I mean, look, if First, that would be an interesting thing if it were true, and I would be interested to have good evidence that a God exists. I think that would be pretty darn interesting. And also, yeah, that if you currently hold that belief, I have no beef with you, because it doesn't currently contradict any of the science we know. And yeah, I mean, why not, right? Like, it's a much more reasonable stance than no, evolution is a lie, even though the evidence for evolution is about on the same par as the evidence of the globe. I mean, there's literally no question. So, yeah, here we go.
Okay, what date's on a Tuesday? We have a meeting? March 9th. Steve, you're on the ball. Oh, March 7th. Give that back. 7th. There we go. March 7th. Okay. You get a crazen. All right. There we go.
Oh, no.
Oh, he said March 9th earlier. He's lying.
Did he?
Yeah.
Oh. I just accidentally tried to open up Blender because I'm an idiot. Sorry about that.
Oh.
Which reminds me, if anyone could post the link in the chat, I think maybe Ben can, to my most recent Blender project to be uploaded to Top Hats Off. Check that out, because
I'm
that's...
just gonna click Control V, and then there we go.
There you go. Check that out. After the stream, of course. Open up in a new tab or a new window or whatever it is you do. But that's a preview. I worked very hard on that today, in addition to multitasking with the speculative evolution project. So there you go.
And what I'll do each week is we'll keep adding to these questions. Eventually we'll stop using that one as a question. But we'll keep, and just out of the clear blue, we might be talking about one subject and bang, ask a question about something from last week. That's always been my method of teaching, to keep, it's a constant review, so that by the time you take the final exam, there could be 800 questions on there. It wouldn't matter. You get them all right. That's my idea of testing. Yes?
Did Darwin only write one book?
He wrote several books. The first one that he wrote was called, back in those days they had long titles on their books. Okay, like sometimes a whole paragraph was the title to the book. It was kind of the custom of the mid-1800s. And we'll get into a whole lot more on Darwin's book.
Hey, technically Ken is right about that. They did have ridiculous titles back in the mid-1800s. I'm going to take a drink. And yeah, it's way too long. Don't title your book like that, if you write one.
Darwin, strange fellow in many ways. His grandfather was a doctor, medical doctor. He really came up with most of the evolution theory. Pass another book back there, Heidi, if you would. Give her some more there, Eric.
No one asked about this, Kent. Get to the point.
Erasmus Darwin was a medical doctor with a real hatred for Christianity. His name was Erasmus, E-R-A-S-M-U-S, I think. Erasmus Darwin wrote a lot about evolution. I forget the name of his book. I could look it up. Something about zoology or something like that. And but the world wasn't really ready for that. That was in 1802 when he died, I believe, or when he wrote his book, somewhere in there. We can look up the facts. But when Grandpa Darwin wrote his book, at that time, the world was still strongly influenced by Christianity. You know, our founding fathers, for instance, were strong believers in, at least in God. You know, Jefferson was a deist. He wasn't a Christian.
Jefferson was far from the only deist, Kent. But, oh, you know what? I'll take a quick drink for you being right. Jefferson was a deist.
But one more back there. Is that the last notebook? Oh, she's got them. Okay. And so Erasmus Darwin was a medical doctor, and his son, I don't remember Charlie's dad's name, but he was also a medical doctor. Charlie showed no interest in much of anything except shooting birds. He just loved to go shoot birds, and just he liked to play, basically.
This is stupid. I'm taking a drink. The reason that Darwin shot a lot of birds is because he was collecting specimens. Because, okay, here's the thing about biology, right? Let's say you want to describe a new species. You have to have an example of it that is somewhere that people can go examine it themselves. The whole repeatability, falsifiability, all that stuff, right? So,
Science.
yeah, the whole science thing. So, if you say, here's a species I found, and you just write about it or sketch a picture or something, that means literally nothing. Science does not care. You have not done a... Oh! Drink for Godzilla. You have not done a darn thing in terms of science. You need to have an example. Now, granted, you could take a living example to become your holotype, and then when it dies, you can preserve it. But, I don't know if you know this, but trying to keep an entire menagerie of tiny little birds on your ship in the mid-1800s, not exactly practical or easy. Also, Eric Vieltaler asks, didn't Charles Darwin have autism? I don't know. I would be skeptical of any diagnosis, which would have to be an armchair diagnosis from so long ago, but I also won't preclude it. I mean, it's possible. I don't know. But yeah, so the reason that Darwin went around pinning insects and shooting birds and, you know, capturing, or not capturing, but collecting their and preserving their corpses is so that he could do science. To this day, you need to have a holotype specimen, which means the first described specimen of a species that is used to compare other organisms to see if they're in the same species. Now, in some cases, you can get a neotype, but that's a little bit off in the weeds. It's like if you don't have the holotype anymore, you can get a neotype, or if the holotype was for some reason insufficient, you can get a neotype, whatever. But no, he didn't just enjoy... I mean, I guess he could have enjoyed shooting birds, but we have no evidence that he did. Corporal Anon says, drunk AF and putting this towards my ongoing debt. Ooh, woo, good stream, y'all. Thank you, Corporal Anon. And by the way, Corporal Anon is in the credits that were recently linked. So, yeah, he's going to be one of the characters on that live-streamed Let's Play of Star Trek Adventures, Klingon Empire. Which, by the way, I still need to make the end credits for. But those will be easy. That's just a bunch of text. I'm going to even be super lazy and just make the text scroll up, because that's actually faster to make than having it fade in and out. So, I don't know. Anyway, here we go. More Kent.
All of his life, he just liked to play. Never did want to settle down to anything. So it took Darwin like...
What do you mean he never wanted to settle down to anything? He had a wife and like 5 kids or something. What? I'm going to take a drink for Godzilla.
30 years to write that book. And the title is On the Origin of Species by Means of Natural Selection or the Preservation of Favored Races in the Struggle for Life. A big long title on the book. And
okay. It's not that it took him 30 years to write the book. It actually took him a very short amount of time to write the book. He was just not sure he wanted to write the book for a number of reasons, one of which was he didn't want to upset his wife, who wasn't a big fan of his theories. So that's actually a pretty big thing that was like a big concern for him, because his wife was a very devout Christian and she wasn't a big fan of the idea of a naturalistic origin for species, which implied universal common descent, which at the time, Darwin wasn't super confident about. Like, if you actually read Origin of the Species, he says that all life derived from one or a few original forms. Like, he holds open the option that maybe, like, life was descended from, like, 3 or 4 or whatever original forms, and that there wasn't universal common ancestry, there was just widespread common ancestry. But anyway, after hearing that someone else was likely to publish a book with more or less the same hypothesis, he essentially rushed out the first edition of Origin of the Species. Like, it's not that he was just sitting there writing it for 30 years. It's not true. And I am hoping that Ken Hovind also mentions at least The Voyages of the Beagle and Descent of Man, which are Charles Darwin's other 2 big books, but I don't know if he will. Oh, and drink for Godzilla.
We'll get into a whole lot more of that later because it's very important. But Darwin,
and again,
Charlie Darwin hated birds because he loved worms. I'm telling you, the guy was a real screwball, okay? He hated women. He hated blacks. Hated anybody that wasn't, you know, like him. We get into more of his racism later, which we cover on my video number 5 of my series. I show all the documentation. Another thing I try to do in my seminar, when I show a picture, I try to...
All right, I'm going to put this out here. Okay. Charles Darwin, by 2020 standards, would have been a racist. It's true. However, for the time he lived, he was one of the most progressive people alive. His family came from a long line of abolitionists. He writes extensively about how much he detested slavery. He also has some anecdotes where he encountered slaves on his voyages and how horribly they were treated and how upset he was by their treatment. And even when he predicted that the, quote, civilized, and yeah, quote, civilized races would eventually, replace the, quote, savage races, he was not advocating that this be an active policy. He was just saying, I think this is probably what's going to end up happening whether we like it or no. Fortunately, he was incorrect about that, as far as we can tell. But it is unfair to call Charles Darwin a racist and just leave it at that. He was about as anti-racist as it is possible to have been in the mid to late 1800s. It's just one of those, like, it's just a fact. You could not find a less racist European than Charles Darwin. Would he be a racist today if he held the same ideas? Yes. But we cannot simply judge historical figures entirely on the basis of today's ideas. Because it's not fair to them. Because I guarantee you would have different ideas if you grew up in, say, the 1830s than if you grew up in, say, the 1930s, than if you, say, grew up in the 1990s, right? And also, for $3.99 by from Scott Duke, he says, oh, and quick drink for Godzilla. Scott Duke says, for $3.99 US, nothing better than Kent with Bent on Tuesday night. That's true. It is almost every Tuesday night. Second Tuesdays of the month, we try to do something else at an earlier time so as not to interfere with some other channels. But, yes, Tuesday nights, generally speaking, Kent with Bent. Alright, here we go. Let's get some more Kent Hovind in.
Put right at the bottom, the documentation. Where did this come from? That saves me an awful lot of phone calls. Hey, where'd you get that information? I don't know, look on my slide. When I taught school for 15 years, I would always put the week's homework up in the corner of the chalkboard for every class. I had a little graph that stayed up there permanently. Okay, here's math class, here's biology class, here's earth science class, here's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Here's your homework for the rest of the week. And because kids would always call me at home. What's due tomorrow? I don't know, go look on the board. Even if I knew, I wouldn't want to tell them. Because then I had to do, you got to do that the rest of your life. Eventually you got to wean them off, depending on me, okay? It's been on the board all week, write it down. So that's another teaching tool that I picked up from somebody. Anyway, Darwin's book was written in 1859, or published in 1859.
That was Mothra, but here's what that means. I actually just ran out of this drink, so what I'm going to do is I actually have a drink that's a little bit staged, but it's not a full drink. I'm going to run, grab it, and I'm going to be back in like maybe 20 seconds at most. So.
Okay. He's running. There's no second hand on this watch.
And I am back. Bent Hovind, how long did that take?
I think it was less than 20 seconds, but I can't prove it.
I thought you looked at your watch.
There's no second hand.
Was it less than a minute at least?
No, because right when you got up, it switched minutes.
Oh, F. F in the chat for timing, but for Bent, because he, is terrible.
I am the worst.
Oh, hey, Nikki. Nikki's in the chat. Anyway, yeah, so I did run and I grabbed it. So I actually put this away because, it's slightly caffeinated, and I was like, I don't know how much caffeine I want to drink, but hey, you know what? It's Kent with Bent, and I ran out of a drink before we're done, so...
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, here we go. More Kent. We're not going to get much more, but whatever.
There seems to be quite a controversy about this. 1,200 volumes were published, 1,200 copies. All of them sold first day.
I don't know if that's true, but I don't really care.
So it looked like, wow, a runaway bestseller. It appears that the truth of the matter is a couple of rich folks arranged to have all of them purchased on the first day so that it would look like a runaway bestseller. But actually it wasn't. The book it's boring. I mean, try to read it sometime. It's a real boring book. He's a lousy author.
Okay, Bent, I don't know. Have you read Origin of the Species?
Nope.
Okay, I actually recommend it. Charles Darwin, in fact, is not a lousy writer. He is, in fact, a pretty darn good writer, even for, the 19th century, which was full of pretty flowery language. And yeah, you're going to get some of that when you read it. But he actually, he does a lot of really great stuff. Like, he anticipates a lot of, like, criticisms that various people might have of his ideas and counters them before they can even give them. He lays out the evidence that he gathered on his voyages. He gives examples of analogous situations from, like, say, domesticated animals and, breeding them and all this stuff. It's actually a very well-written book. And I think the only reason Ken Hovind is saying that he's a terrible author is to discourage people from writing it. Or, sorry, reading it. I, again, apparently can't talk. But this time, I'm going to blame the rum.
He probably thinks it's the Bible for the atheist.
No, yeah, I do think he does think that.
Which is the same as the evolutionist, which is the same as...
yeah.
To him, it's all the same.
And actually, Nicole Davis says it's a... I'm going to skip over a word here. It's a science paper, dummy. It's enthralling, but it's enthralling, actually. Actually, that's the thing. When I stopped being a young Earth creationist, and I decided I was going to read it, and this was back, I believe, in high school, I actually had, like, buckled myself in for a really long and boring book. But no, it was fun to read. I actually enjoyed it. There were parts that were dry, and that I was kind of like, okay, I get it. Can we kind of move on? But that's going to be the case in almost anything you read. Overall, though, even as a high school kid, granted, a nerdy high school kid, but as a high school kid, I devoured that book. It was great. So I highly recommend you go out and get a copy and read it. You don't even have to get a copy. It's public domain. You can find it in full online. So just go read it. Or listen to an audiobook of it. Or something. You can probably actually find a full audiobook just on YouTube since it's public domain. I can't guarantee that, so, don't come yell at me if you can't, but you probably can. So anyway, we're going to get a little bit more Kent in, and then we're going to wrap up.
He rambles on and on and on. You can't tell where he's going. The title is The Origin of Species, and he never does discuss the origin of species.
Wrong.
Never does get to it in the book. He just rambles on and on. It's one of the most boring books you'd ever want to read. But when the book was reprinted 100 years later on the anniversary, they asked a man named Sir Arthur Keith.
All right, this is where we're going to pause, because I don't care what Sir Arthur Keith has to say about this. Like, whatever. Some dude said a thing. 100 years later. Whatever. So, yeah. Kenny notices that I'm getting a little sloshy, huh? Well, I absolutely went through that second drink super fast. I actually usually have Kent with Ben timed out pretty well, where, like, I know how much I'm drinking and how much I have left, and I don't get through my second drink before the end of the show. But this second hour, just nope. I'm just like, okay, just downed it fast. Anyway, so we're gonna probably wrap up pretty soon. I think I might actually end up on Top Hats Off doing some live streaming. I'm not sure what I want to do. Play a game, probably. Well, absolutely is the thing. So check out that Top Hats Off around like 8:30 or so Pacific, 11:30 Eastern, whatever the heck time it is over there in various parts of Europe or Australia or whatever. I don't know. There's too many time zones. I can't keep them all straight.
37 minutes from right now.
Exactly.
36 minutes from right now.
Or if you're watching this in the future, like the far future, hello from the past.
You missed it.
Well, you might have missed it, but you can still watch the VOD.
That's true.
So, yeah. So I'll go over some channel news real quick. So let's see. Tomorrow I should have the next Speculative Evolution video completely finished. Fingers crossed, and uploaded, so that it can premiere on Thursday at 5 p.m. Saturday, I don't know what's happening. Although Thursday, there's a possibility that Gutsick Gibbon and I will have an off-air discussion with Kane Wilson, who was on live recently. And if we do have that, I might just premiere that as a video on Saturday, because I'm going to be recording it, if we do have that discussion. If not, I don't know what's going on. Maybe like RJM Truth or someone might come on and have a Leaving Earth Creationism if I don't actually get that done. Or maybe not. A Thursday might just be a nothing. But then the next Tuesday is another Kent with Bent. And then the Thursday after that should be the conclusion to the Mega Catastrophe series. So if you've been enjoying me talking about young Earth creationist flood geology, that will conclude on next Thursday. And I have no idea what's happening the Saturday after that. So there you go. That's channel news. Again, check out Top Hats Off. I just posted a new video today that is the opening credits for the Star Trek Adventures Klingon Empire game that I am playing with Ken Hovind, TD Lane, Deadly Dakota Raptor, Corporal Anon, and Duke Ellington, which is Bent. I'm okay to tell them who that is in relation to you, right?
Yeah, I think they already know.
Okay.
Ellington is my younger brother.
There you go. So yeah. So there you go. And Bent, do you have anything? Of course. Copper Magma.
Copper Magma, recording new music. Recording, new music.
Uploading?
And I would like to, for everyone in the chat, including Dapper, to link to a demo that we have recorded. This is not the final version of the demo. We've actually re-recorded it since then, but it was recorded, I think this is like a month and a half old.
Okay.
Just a little quick mix for the band, and this is going to be, it's an early version of one of the songs that's going to be coming out in our next album. So
also,
click on it, listen to it, download it. It's all free, right? So
I would like to say that I'm getting from chat that apparently Origin of the Species is on both LibriVox and Gutenberg Project, or Project Gutenberg, I think is what it's actually called. So yeah, you have no one can stop you basically from reading Origin of the Species for free. It is one of the great books of history in terms of things that have changed the way people think about the world in a significant way. And I encourage people to read books that have done that. So, like, I don't care if you believe it or not. I think you should have read the Bible at some point. I don't care if you believe it or not. I think you should have read the Bhagavad Gita at some point. I don't care if you believe it or not. I think you should have read the Quran at some point. I don't care if you believe it or not. You should have read Origin of the Species at some point. Now, the other things that I would include in there, like maybe some of the Federalist versus Anti-Federalist papers, that might depend on whether or not you're like a U.S. citizen. But there are some things that you should have read. But anyway, I'm going to get going. Thank you very much for watching. I want to give a very special thank you to all of my patrons and channel members, as well as the people who took some extra time and money, honestly, to super chat or send super stickers, including Adam Morgan, Mr. Archaeopteryx, Christopher Hugan, Corporal Anon, and Scott Duke. Your support, as well as support of all my channel members and patrons, is what helps make this possible. And yeah, if you want to, in fact, help me out regularly, there's a join link down below this video, and in the description there is a patron link. If that's you know what, I'm not going to keep going on that because it's in the outro video, and so we're just going to switch to the outro video. Thanks for watching, but before you go, I'd like to take a minute to say thank you to my patrons and channel members on YouTube. They help me make this channel possible, and without them, I couldn't keep going. Specifically, I want to thank my $20 and above patrons, Bent Hovind, Ian Chen, Sphincter of Doom, Chris Love, Henry Hutanen, and Bob Knob. If you'd like to join the channel or become a patron, links are in the description, and if that's not right for you, but you want some other way to help out, there's also an Amazon wish list as well as a Teespring store where you can get Dapper Dino merchandise. If none of that works for you, just liking and sharing this